Hey, crate diggers, Paisley Nation, True Funk Soldiers, Prince Army, whoever is out there watching. I'm Mequilla Sunrise, and I read the book by Kim Berry called Diamonds and Curls, and I'm going to tell you all about it and my impressions next on Vinyl Jeopardy. So I read the book by Kim Berry, who was Prince's hairstylist. It's called Diamonds and Curls. 29 years rocking with rock roy oh no 29 years rolling with rock royalty Prince. This book has been a little divisive in the um, Twitterverse and in the purple world, where people are concerned about Prince and his legacy. And I think that part of what has happened with this book is that it was doomed before it even came out because of a little scandalous event that happened where allegedly Kim was going to auction off a lock of Prince's hair, and the purple world went absolutely nuts. And then I believe what happened was that she said that it was all a misunderstanding, that she had nothing to do with a auction to um, have people pay for a lock of Prince's hair. So after that, things just started to get kind of bad. Um, I have heard her speaking at different events on social media, and heard the interview that she did with Michael Dean on the High Heel Boots podcast. So my first impression of her was that she was a down to earth um, kind of girl around the way that probably Prince needed in his life. So I was very excited about the book. I was waiting for it to come out, and so when it did, I did read it from cover to cover. Now let me tell you that the first problem that I had with the book was typos and formatting. I have written books myself, both fiction and nonfiction. I'm a published author, and I used to be an English teacher back in the day, and that was just difficult for me to get through. Her own daughter's name is spelled two different ways in the book. So here's what I know about book publishing, and that is that a good editor to go over your book is not that expensive. An excellent editor is probably very expensive, but a good editor going over this book would have improved it tons. The other thing that was wrong with it is that it was just too short. And I'm not talking about the Oakland rapper. It was just the length for the price, even though I didn't pay for it. I can't see people paying um, for such a short book. But let me talk about some of the good things. One, it did give us some other insights into Prince and his personality and who he was that have not been discussed in other books that I have read about him. So that was good. The cover is excellent. It has a picture of him. Um, in a way, I wish that it actually had a picture of her, or even her and him. That would have been better. But let me say first that it was not what I was expecting. What I was expecting is unclear in the book exactly when she started working with him. Um, but I was expecting that she would go album to album, project to project, talking about his hairstyles and his hairstyle choices, and how he came to create these, or in conjunction with her, what were her suggestions. For example, I think that maybe she came in around Love Sexy. It's kind of hard to tell. She doesn't say exactly, but he had very long hair then, so that requires less maintenance. And then he cut it and he had these Marcel waves on the side, which those waves are kind of hard to maintain. You do have to keep a scarf on your head every night if you want them to last. So I was wondering what was the um, regimen that he had to go through. Was he good about wearing a scarf on his head? Um, Things like then when he did the big chop, eventually, he cut off all of his hair very short. And that's actually my favorite style that I like the best. Um, when you have short hair, that requires a lot of maintenance. Did How did he react to that? Was he emotional about it like women are? When women get the big chop and cut off very long hair to very short hair, they go through an emotional thing. As a man, he might not have, but I wanted to know. And she doesn't talk about his hair at all. There was a time when he um, did he had cut out etchings of the symbol on the side of his head. Did she do that? Who came up with that idea? Um, were there any funny disaster stories where she did his hair? They went out in the rain. I'm making this up. They went out in the rain. Hair had to be done over an hour later. Those are the kind of things that I thought that the book was going to be about. Like when, like at musicology time when he had kind of a blowout, still curls going on. How did they come to these decisions? How much input did she have? How much input did he allow? She talked a lot about the one picture that is out there of her doing his hair, and that was when he did the very loose braids. Um, Interestingly, that is my least favorite hairstyle. And she says in the book that when she did this hairstyle, using different fabrics in the braid, that this became all the rage and everybody was wearing it. Well, I was around in the 90s and I don't recall anybody wearing that hairstyle except him. Um, she says that it became a big thing. I don't remember it becoming a big thing. When I first saw it, my first thought was, did anybody discuss with him that this might be offensive to some black people? It was not offensive to me. I just didn't like it. She even refers to it as kind of a pickaninny type of hairstyle. Did she discuss this with him? She doesn't say that she does. She just seems to have acquiesced to his desires about that hairstyle. But that seems to be the only hairstyle that she really goes into any depth about. So the book was not what I was thinking it was going to be. So let's talk about what it actually is. She talks about her origins of her upbringing in Inglewood, how she became a hairstylist, how she happened to meet him through a boyfriend and a girlfriend who she knew as a hairdresser. I would expect those things. So she talks about her origins, which she should. She should talk about how she became a hairdresser, and those kinds of things. Where some people are taking issue is about her very long narrative about his marriage to Maite and her pregnancy and the loss of their child. I don't have a problem with her talking about that. There's a lot of people who are saying that's none of her business and it was already discussed in Maite's book. Um, um, so and that it was a sensitive topic, so she shouldn't be giving her viewpoint of it. I don't think that it's wrong for her to give her viewpoint of it. Um, she's giving the information based on what she saw at the time. Now, fact for fact, we already knew this stuff because Maite had already talked about it. But we are seeing it from a different point of view. And so that was interesting to me. The same story, but a different point of view. And that's really how research is done, right? Even with police detectives, they get the story from a bunch of different point of views so that they can determine what is truth, what is fact, what is fiction, and to get more information. So I didn't have a problem with her retelling the story from her point of view. Maybe it was in bad taste. I probably wouldn't have done it, but I don't think it was wrong to tell her point of view of what happened. I just think that I would have preferred a book where she talked about his hairstyles, and she didn't. Some people also have a problem with her throwing him under the bus. Some people also have a problem with her throwing him under the bus about his sexual life. She basically describes him as a womanizer who went through women like drinking milkshakes. He just went from one woman to another, according to Kim Berry. Some people don't like that. And I think some of that has to do with the icon type of Prince worship that we do have going on out there among his fans, family, and friends. The man was a flawed human being, and I I don't think it's wrong for her to say what she observed with her own eyes. In poor taste, maybe, but not wrong. It also gives us a different point of view from another person who was actually there and who saw it. She also throws Manuela Testolini under the bus. Um, she admits from the get go that they did not get along. So, Manuela Testolini is Prince's second wife, and she says that Manuela tried to get Prince to get another hairdresser. And I really laughed at this because she said that the hairdresser was a very famous celebrity hairdresser who did a lot of people's hair, who charged a whole lot of money. However, he did not know how to do a relaxer. And that is so laughable. Um, so she, in my mind, when I read that about Manuela, at best, that would make her culturally insensitive. At worst, just plain stupid. But to try to hire someone for a person who had been wearing a relaxer in their hair for the bulk of their career, you must not know a lot about black hair, or you don't care. If that's what you're trying to do, is to get someone to do his hair out of all of the hairdressers in the world, to try to bring into the Prince camp, you're going to bring in somebody who doesn't know how to lay a relaxer. Did he know what a hot comb was? That was just, it was amusing to me. Um, if It's true. Now that brings up another topic, is that some people are saying that what she's saying is not true. I'm not ready to discredit the woman. I think she is giving the story from her point of view just like anybody else does. Nobody sees the whole 360. You only see the part that you see. So, yeah, that was actually kind of funny. Um, she talks also about the reasons that she thinks that Prince was such a womanizer and, in her opinion, disrespectful to women. Um, she becomes then a psychologist and tries to psychoanalyze him. Um, Not again wrong, but probably in poor taste. She doesn't really know what his motivations was. He might have just been thinking with his underparts like any other man. So she presents him, I think, a little more human than other people. Um, as a fan, as a friend, as a fam, of course, we want to elevate Prince and we want to think that he has no flaws. And I think that kind of clouds people's reading of this book. Essentially, I just would have liked it to be more about his hair. She does talk a little bit about his hair products that he used. I thought that was interesting. But there were things I was just wondering, like, did he have rituals in the salon? Because did he have to be dressed a certain way, or did he want to get his nails done first and then get his hair done? Like, I knew a lady who, well, she got her hair done. She always brought this sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and she had to change clothes no matter what it was she was wearing. Not that she was wearing anything special that she didn't want to get hair dye on, for example. She just had this thing that she wanted to be comfortable and have her sweatpants on. So did he have rituals? See, I'm just making stuff up because she didn't tell us. But like when he was sitting under the dryer, did he read magazines? Did he play games on an iPad? Did he play a ukulele? What was going on in the salon? Those are the kind of things that I was wanting to know that unfortunately Kim Berry did not give us. I would have liked to have heard more about his hair. Oh, and there's pictures in the book, and the formatting of the pictures is lacking, and I'm being kind. And it's a little bothersome to me. I did not give to her GoFundMe, so I have no skin in the game. But I know that she did do a GoFundMe. She raised money beforehand. She has a list of patrons in the book. My goodness. Graphic designers, formatters, um, illustrators, and the illustrations are excellent. But these kind of the team that you need in order to publish a book, they used to be very expensive back in the day, but now in 2019 these are not very expensive to get done. And knowing that she raised money up front to get this book published, I'm just wondering where did the money go, because it did not go into a second or third review of the editing, the copy editing. Um, Man, that's difficult for me to read and to look at on the page. But let me just let me just summarize it and say that I would have preferred um, the book if it would have focused more on his hair and how those different styles were created from project to project. She also talks about the fact that she did other people's hair. So, how were those decisions made, even? Because if you have 10 people on the stage, sometimes 12, sometimes 20 people on the stage, and they all need their hair done, you definitely don't want to do everybody's hair the same. So, how were those types of decisions made? For example, his facial hair. Oh, she doesn't talk about his facial hair. That's one of the things that Prince was very unique with. He had all different types of designs from project to project on his face. Did she do that, or did he shave his own face? Those are the kind of things that I was thinking that the book was going to be about, and it was not. Then at the end, Oh, yeah, just about another little pet peeve that I have. And I'm sure it's just my thing. It's just me. It's just Mequilla Sunrise who gets annoyed about people calling women females. So she does this a few times in the book. Females. Animals are females. Human beings are women and girls. And it's just my thing. But um, let me just say that if the book focused on hair, that would have been better for me. And then at the end, she starts to talk about there are so many other stories that I could have told you. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't you? The book is only 140 pages or so. And if you have been his hairstylist for 29 years, that's a long time. There, whatever stories that she could have told, she should have told. When you do this, I guess maybe trying to bait us into part two, maybe, or a sequel, it does not work too well if you didn't satisfy people at the beginning. So I'll use my favorite movie as an example, The Matrix. The Matrix, the very first Matrix, is jam packed with story. It is the hero's journey from beginning to end. It is full, jam packed. That movie actually could have been two movies by itself. But because it was jam packed and full, it had something to bounce off of for the next two films. This has not much to bounce off of. It would only be a continuation, but because of the bad taste about not giving us enough to begin with, I don't know that people are going to be enthused to go and purchase a different book. So, let me say that I'm giving this book like a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I think it's a 5.5 maybe out of 10, just because it does give us a different perspective that we've never seen before, and some brutal truth that I think a lot of other people were uh, they I don't even think it was just respect. There was probably a little fear that was a dose of fear that was in people's reluctance to talk about certain things. So I'm giving it a 5.5, mostly because it wasn't long enough and the writing was just poor. But I think that some of the content was refreshing in the brutal honesty of it. So, Kimberly, if you're going to do another book, then my suggestion is to power pack it with 29 years worth of hairstyles and give us some information about how he came up with those hairstyles, what was his suggestions, what was your process of coming up with a hairstyle, what was your process of doing his hair, were there rituals? I'm making up stuff. I'm making up stuff because she didn't tell us. I don't know. I just wanted to know that kind of stuff about his hair. That's what I wanted to know. What was going on in the salon? Um, so that is my review of Diamonds and Curls by Kim Barry. 29 years rolling with rock royalty Prince. I'm Mequilla Sunrise, and this is Vinyl Jeopardy.